My name is Holly LaMarche, and I am 36 years old. If you had told me 7 years ago that a single sentence could snap something inside a person, a clean, almost peaceful crack, I would have laughed. But that was before I spent nearly a decade listening to another woman's ghost, being invited into my relationship again and again like my boyfriend's past was a measuring tape I was supposed to keep failing against. The 100th time it happened, it wasn't dramatic. There was no shouting, no build-up. Just a quiet comment that sliced deeper because it sounded so casual. Eric looked at the dresser I had spent an hour assembling, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and muttered, "Lila would never have done that." I should have breathed, walked away, counted to 10, anything except what I did. But 7 years of swallowing comparisons, of smiling through the sting, of pretending it didn't bruise something tender inside me. It all rose at once. "Then why didn't you marry her?" I said. Eric froze. He didn't blink. And the silence that followed was heavier than any argument we had ever had. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowed, confused at first, then insulted as if my pain was inconvenient. Before he could answer, I added, "Because she didn't want you either." The words fell between us like a stone breaking glass. People imagine explosions are loud. They are not. They are quiet. Shockingly quiet. Eric stepped back as if I'd slapped him. "Holly, what is wrong with you?" But that was the question I had been asking myself for years. What was wrong with me that I let this happen? How did I become the woman who smiled politely while her boyfriend compared her to the ex-girlfriend he still clearly worshipped? To understand how we reached this moment, you have to understand the slow erosion. It wasn't one big betrayal, just a steady drip of little ones. Year 1, we were assembling bookshelves. Eric read the instructions aloud with a smug confidence that somehow made him slower, not faster. I was sweating, trying not to snap at the manual written by someone who clearly hated humanity. When the shelf wobbled just slightly, he chuckled and said, "Lila was really handy. She built one of these herself." A harmless comment, right? That's what I told myself. Everyone talks about their past. No big deal. Year 2. I forgot our anniversary reservation. My fault. I mixed up the dates at work, and by the time I called the restaurant, everything was booked. He didn't scold me. He didn't even raise his voice. He just sighed and said Lila never forgot anniversaries. She had this whole color-coded system. I remember laughing awkwardly, apologizing more than he did, because I thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. Year 3. I got promoted. A huge step in my career. More hours, more responsibilities, more stress. But I was proud of myself. Eric wasn't angry, but he was disappointed. Lila always knew how to balance work and life, he said. She made time for the people she cared about. He said it as if I didn't care, as if ambition meant lacking love. Year 4. I planned a surprise birthday party for him. Rented a small venue, invited his friends, coordinated with his older sister. The bakery messed up the cake. It leaned a little to the left like it was trying to escape the party. Eric laughed. Lila threw the most perfect 25th birthday party for me. Everything was flawless. I was quiet the entire drive home. He didn't notice. Year 5. He caught a nasty cold. I worked from home for 2 days running soup to him checking his temperature, keeping him comfortable. He was miserable and emotionally short-fused, which I understood. Illness turns even the nicest people into wounded animals. But then through his sniffles, he whispered, "Lila used to read to me when I was sick." It was sweet. As if I should feel guilty for not performing the ritual correctly. Year 6. We renovated the bathroom. Or more accurately, I watched tutorials, bought materials, and tried to save us money by doing most of it myself. The tiles were a bit uneven, barely noticeable, but that was enough. Lila's family had contractors, he said. This would have been done professionally if she were here. No matter what the year or situation, she was always there. This perfect woman, this flawless phantom, this unreachable standard. Eric's ex-girlfriend didn't just live in his past. She lived beside me at the dinner table, in our bedroom, in our fights, in every mistake I made, in everything I wasn't. He didn't summon Lila to hurt me, he said. That was just how he talked. Just venting. Just memories. Just harmless. But memories can be weapons too. I tried talking to him so many times. "Eric, it hurts when you compare me to her." He would sigh, promise to do better, kiss my forehead. 2 weeks later, he'd say something like, "Lila used to massage my shoulders when I was stressed," without me even asking. His friends noticed once. My closest friend pulled me aside after a barbecue and whispered, "Holly, this is not normal. He's disrespecting you." I made excuses. "He doesn't mean it that way. He's just processing the breakup still." Except he wasn't processing it. He was preserving it, like a shrine. By year 7, I wasn't sure if I was dating Eric or auditioning to be Lila. And then came the night everything unraveled, the night I cooked pasta. It wasn't fancy, just something warm after a long day. He took 3 bites, set his fork down gently, and said, "It's good, but Lila made this amazing carbonara, like restaurant quality." Something inside me, quiet, stretched thin, fraying for years, finally snapped. "Then why didn't you marry her?" His eyes widened, and before he could respond, I drove the final nail into the coffin, because she didn't want you either. The silence afterward was absolute. Shock, hurt, anger. Then a colder, more dangerous fury I had never seen from him. "Holly, how dare you?" "How dare I state a fact?" I said. "You've thrown this woman in my face for 7 years. 7. And I'm supposed to pretend it doesn't hurt, that it doesn't make me feel like I'm second choice." "You're disgusting," he said. "Obsessed with a woman who didn't want me." "No," I whispered. "You're the one obsessed. I've just been forced to live with it." He grabbed his keys, slammed the door, hard enough to rattle the windows, and left me alone with the pasta he refused to eat. Pasta that had taken me an hour to make. I sat there knowing something fundamental had shifted. I thought the question was whether I had ended the relationship. I didn't know yet that the real ending had already begun long before I spoke. I did not hear from Eric for the rest of the night. Not a call, not a text. The kind of silence that doesn't leave room for hope or fear, just a numb space where something used to live. I went to bed without turning off the kitchen lights too drained to care if the electricity bill spiked. Somewhere between midnight and 2 in the morning, my phone buzzed. A single message. "Staying at Mom's. You need to think about what you said and apologize. I won't come back until you do. No good night. No, we should talk." Just an instruction as if I were a misbehaving employee. I stared at the screen for nearly a full minute. Then I set the phone down and rolled over. Not because I wanted to sleep, but because I genuinely had nothing to reply. I wasn't sorry, not even a little. 7 years of being compared to Lila had drained me so completely that even guilt couldn't find a place to settle. By morning, the message still sat there unanswered. My chest felt cold but light, an unfamiliar contradiction, like grief and relief had agreed to share space. I showered, made coffee, sat in silence. An hour later, my phone rang. His sister. Of all the people I wanted to hear from, she ranked dead last. "Holly," she said, immediately skipping any greeting. "What exactly is going on?" "Good morning to you too," I replied, forcing calmness into my voice. "Don't be cute. Eric is devastated. He was up all night crying. How could you say something so cruel to him?" I inhaled slowly. I knew this woman. She had never liked me, not even in the beginning. In her eyes, no one was ever good enough for the golden son she adored. "Did he tell you what he said to me?" I asked. "He mentioned some comment about his ex. But come on, that's just venting. You're supposed to handle that." "Handle," I repeated. As in absorbed 7 years of being compared to another woman, she clicked her tongue. "You're twisting it. Eric loves you." Loving someone doesn't give you the right to humiliate them repeatedly. That's your interpretation. You didn't need to go for the jugular. You should apologize. Be the bigger person. She said it so effortlessly, as if my feelings were a minor inconvenience. "I'll think about it," I said. And I did for exactly 0 seconds after hanging up. The next day, his father called. This man had spoken maybe 100 words to me in 7 years. He wasn't unkind, just quiet, observing everything from the background like someone who preferred to be uninvolved. That made it worse now because if he was calling, it meant Eric had spun a version of the story carefully curated for sympathy. "Holly," he said gently, "I don't know what happened, but my son is hurting. Whatever you did, you need to make it right." "With respect, sir," I replied, "whatever Eric told you isn't the whole story. He said you attacked him verbally. You brought up things designed to wound him. And did he tell you he's been comparing me to Lila for our entire relationship? Every year, every fight, every mistake. Did he tell you that?" Silence. "Then, that's between you two. But a woman shouldn't speak to her partner that way. A partner shouldn't treat someone like a silver medal for 7 years." He hung up without another word. By day 3, I stopped jumping when my phone buzzed. My body had already learned the rhythm. Someone calls, blames me, defends Eric, scolds me for not apologizing. It was almost predictable. What wasn't predictable was what I found when I got home from work. Eric, sitting on the couch. No warning, no message. Just him, perched stiffly, arms crossed, eyes sharp. "We need to talk," he said. There was no hello, no acknowledgement of the 3 days of silence he had inflicted. "Okay," I replied, keeping my voice steady. He stood pacing once before turning sharply toward me. What you said was unacceptable. Cruel. You know how insecure that breakup made me, and you used it against me. I blinked. Hard. And comparing me to your ex-girlfriend for 7 years wasn't cruel. That's different. How? I wasn't trying to hurt you, he insisted. I was just talking. Talking, I repeated, letting the word fall flat. Eric, you weren't just talking. You were reminding me every time that I wasn't as good as her, that I was a backup plan. You're being dramatic. The laugh that burst out of me shocked both of us. Dramatic, I echoed. Eric, you bring up Lila when I cook, when I forget something. When I'm tired, when I breathe wrong, apparently. But I'm dramatic. She was important to me, he said almost defensively. That relationship shaped who I am. Then go be with her. I can't. Why, I asked. He hesitated for the first time. And that was when his eyes flickered in the way people's eyes do when they are deciding whether to lie or confess. She and we've been talking. Just as friends. We reconnected on social media a few months ago. My stomach turned to stone. Define talking. Just catching up. Nothing happened. Show me the messages, I said. His hand shot to his pocket, instantly gripping his phone so tightly he might have left fingerprints embedded in the case. That's an invasion of privacy. You've been secretly talking to the woman you compare me to constantly, I said softly. Deadly calm, and I'm the one invading privacy. I don't have to prove anything to you, he snapped. You're not my warden. I thought I was your girlfriend, I said quietly, but apparently not. He didn't show me the messages. He didn't need to. The refusal told me everything. That night I slept in the guest room, not because he asked, but because the idea of being near him made something inside me recoil. The next morning I woke up with an eerie clarity. No tears, no shaking, just a cold understanding. I picked up my phone, searched for a local attorney, and made a consultation appointment not to file anything yet, but to understand what my life would look like if I walked away. Because deep in my gut, I already knew Eric wasn't going to change. He couldn't even see the problem. And people who can't see what they're doing can't stop doing it. I didn't plan for the truth to fall into my lap. I wasn't digging, wasn't reading his messages, wasn't hunting for evidence to justify the heaviness in my chest. I didn't have to. The truth came to me because someone else finally grew tired of Eric too. It started with an unexpected call from his sister. Her voice was sharp, clipped, irritated. Not unusual, but different. Less righteous than before, more agitated. Holly, she said, we need to talk. I braced myself. More yelling, more blaming, more, you need to fix this. But that wasn't what I got. I'm only telling you this because I'm furious with Eric right now, she snapped. But you should know he wasn't being honest about the whole Lila situation. My pulse slowed, not sped up. Some part of me had been preparing for this. What do you mean? I asked calmly. He wasn't just talking to her, a bitter laugh. He's been bragging about it, saying she finally realized what she lost, saying she's practically begging to meet up. The room tilted slightly, not from shock, but from confirmation. The truth wasn't a surprise. It was simply a puzzle piece sliding into place. Did he meet her? I asked. Another pause. He told me he wasn't sure if he should tell you. But yes, 3 weeks ago, coffee. Just the two of them. The same week he told me he was working late. The same week he kissed my forehead, told me I worried too much. The same week he compared my spaghetti to Lila's perfect carbonara again. I exhaled, slowly. Thank you for telling me. Don't thank me, she muttered. I'm mad at him not helping you. And don't tell him I said anything. She hung up. That night, the weight inside me shifted, not heavier, but more solid. A truth with edges sharp enough to cut through denial. And then came the second call. Eric's mother. This woman had always been measured with me. Polite, observant, careful not to interfere. So hearing her voice tremble slightly instantly put me on alert. Holly, I need you to listen without reacting. I closed my eyes. I'm listening. I know about the messages, she said quietly, and the coffee meeting. Her tone wasn't accusatory or angry. It was apologetic. He told his sister things he shouldn't have, she continued, and she told me. I confronted him. He got defensive. He blocked me for a week. Eric blocked his own mother. That told me more than anything else. I'm not excusing what he did, she said, but I refuse to let you be blindsided. Whatever choice you make, it should be an informed one. Did anything happen? I asked, though the answer no longer mattered. I don't know, she said truthfully. But he told his sister he wanted to see if there was still something there. Something inside me went very still. Not shattered, not devastated, just still. Stillness is powerful. It is clarity disguised as numbness. When the call ended, I didn't cry. I didn't tremble. I didn't even pace the room. I simply picked up my phone, opened the lawyer's number I had saved, and said, "I'd like to move forward." The papers were drafted in silence, signed in silence, processed in silence. That same afternoon, they were served to Eric at his mother's house, witnesses present, just as the attorney recommended. The moment they were delivered, my phone lit up like something possessed. First call, Eric. Second, Eric again. Third, unknown number, his cousin. Fourth, his sister. Fifth, his father. Sixth, Eric. I ignored all of them. Eventually, I listened to the first voicemail. Eric's voice was jagged, frantic. "Holly, you're divorcing me over coffee. You're ending 7 years because I had a conversation." I pressed delete. Next voicemail, his father. "You are throwing away a family. Real women work through problems they don't run." Delete. Then came the cousin. "You're making the biggest mistake of your life." Delete. Finally, a text from Eric. "Please talk to me. Please. Don't do this. You're overreacting." Nothing happened. Overreacting. The same word he'd used when I cried over his comparisons. The same word he used when I asked him to stop bringing up Lila. The same word that turned my pain into inconvenience. I did not respond. 2 days later, Eric escalated from messages to theatrics. I walked out of my office for lunch and froze. He was leaning against his car in the parking lot, arms crossed, eyes red. He pushed off the door when he saw me. "We need to talk." I stayed where I was. Everything goes through the lawyers now. "Holly, stop. I'm trying to save us. You should have thought about us before meeting your ex behind my back." He moved closer, too close, his voice cracked. "You won't answer my calls. You won't text me back. What am I supposed to do?" "Accept the divorce." He flinched like I'd physically hit him. 7 years, Holly. We can fix this." "You spent 7 years telling me I wasn't enough," I said softly. "Then you went looking for someone better. And now that she didn't want you, you want me again. That's not fair." "None of this is fair, but it is reality." He reached for my arm. I pulled back. People were starting to stare. "Holly, please," he whispered. I shook my head. "You want forgiveness, but you don't even understand what you did." I turned and walked away. In the elevator alone, I finally felt the tremble in my fingers. But it wasn't from sadness. It was from release. Eric expected me to crumble, to apologize through tears, to cling to him so he could feel wanted after Lila rejected him. But he didn't understand something crucial. You cannot break a woman who has already lived in pieces for years. You can only free her. And I was finally free. The legal process was not dramatic at first. It was paperwork, endless, numbing paperwork. Forms, financial statements, itemized lists of assets and responsibilities. Cold documents that reduced 7 years of my life into categories: property, income, contributions, liabilities. But then Eric turned it into war. The first sign came during a call with my lawyer. She sighed, tapping her pen against the desk. "Holly, his attorney, just filed his initial demands." "Demands," I repeated, though I already suspected. "Yes, he's asking for quite a lot." Of course he was. Eric had always been a man who felt wronged whenever reality contradicted his expectations. "What exactly is he asking for?" I asked. My lawyer read the list with the tone of someone who didn't know whether to scoff or pity. "First, he wants your house. The house I bought before I ever met him. The house I renovated with my own money. The house he once said had weird windows, but was good enough for now." He claims my lawyer continued that because he lived there for 7 years and contributed to utilities and groceries. He deserves a portion, possibly full ownership. I let out a slow, controlled exhale. Utilities. Groceries. I almost laughed. But not the down payment, not the mortgage, not the insurance, not the remodels. "Exactly," she said. "He has no legal standing. This is a scare tactic." We moved down the list. Second, alimony, significant alimony. Eric earned a good income, a stable job, 2 promotions. But according to him, he had sacrificed career growth for the relationship, a fictional history he created for court. My lawyer raised a brow. "He's asking for 4 years of monthly support." I closed my eyes. Of course he is. "Third, half your retirement account accumulated during the marriage." That one, unfortunately, was standard. Painful, but expected. "And fourth," she hesitated, flipping the paper as if hoping she misread it, "he wants the dog." I opened my eyes. "He wants Luna." "Yes, Luna the Beagle mix." We adopted in year 3. Luna, who slept on my side of the bed. Luna, who Eric complained, shayed too much, and barked too often. Luna, who clung to me whenever Eric raised his voice. "He barely cared for her," I said quietly. My lawyer nodded. "We have every vet record, every food receipt, every grooming bill in your name. He'll lose that argument fast." But the fact that he tried, that he reached for the one creature who had brought me peace, that said everything. Eric wasn't fighting because he wanted these things. He was fighting because he wanted to punish me. Because losing control terrified him. Because if he couldn't have me, he wanted to take pieces of my life instead. The weeks that followed were a blur of hearings, filings, evaluations, and strategy meetings. Eric oscillated between rage and desperation, his messages veering from insults to pleading. His family was worse. His father sent a formal letter through his attorney threatening to make this difficult if I didn't give his son what he deserved. He did not specify what that meant. The ambiguity was intentional. My lawyer pen-clicked through the letter, unimpressed. This borders on harassment. If they push this angle, we'll shut it down. His sister texted paragraphs and paragraphs, essay-length attacks, calling me weak, selfish, cold-hearted, emotionally unstable. No wonder he looked elsewhere, she wrote, as if cheating were a justified consequence of my inability to be Lila. His cousin called me from a number I didn't recognize. I'm just telling you, you're making a huge mistake. Eric is crushed. People make mistakes. You're overreacting. Blocked. Eric's mother, however, said nothing. Not another call, not another message, silence. A silence I understood as quiet disapproval, not of me, but of her son. When the first hearing came, Eric sat across the room from me, jaw clenched, eyes flickering between anger and pleading. His attorney argued aggressively emotional sacrifice, long-term, partnership, codependence, lifestyle expectations. My lawyer calmly dismantled every point with documentation. Mortgage records mine, down payment mine, property ownership. Established years before the relationship, financial contributions. Split household expenses. Nothing else. Career sacrifices, none. He actually advanced during the relationship. Dog ownership. Evidence overwhelmingly in my name. Eric's face cracked when the judge dismissed his claim to the house. His expression broke further when the judge ruled the alimony request excessive and unsupported. The final order, 18 months of small transitional support, a division of the retirement funds accumulated only during the relationship. Luna stays with me. The house remains entirely mine. It was more than fair. It was merciful even. But Eric looked like someone had carved open his world. When the judge adjourned, he didn't look at me. His attorney patted his shoulder, whispering something. Eric's hands shook. I watched him leave. Not triumphant, not vengeful, just sad. Sad for what we became. Sad for what he threw away. Sad for what I had to do to protect myself. The final hearing was brief. Signatures, stamped documents, a handshake from my lawyer, a nod from the judge. 7 years distilled into a final decree. Walking out of that courthouse, I braced myself for a wave of grief. But the grief didn't come. What came was a strange foreign lightness. Not happiness, divorce doesn't make you happy, but ease, relief. The sense that I had been holding my breath for years and finally exhaled. I thought that was the end. But the story wasn't finished. A week later, a mutual acquaintance texted me, "You're not going to believe this." Attached was a screenshot from social media. Lila, newly engaged, not to Eric, to someone she'd been dating for a year. Eric had reached out to her after I filed, told her he was divorcing, told her he'd made a mistake, told her they should try again. She turned him down gently publicly, even congratulating him on finding closure. He had destroyed our relationship trying to resurrect something that never wanted to be reborn. And now he was left alone, chasing a woman who had moved on long before he realized he couldn't. It should have felt triumphant. It didn't. It felt quiet, inevitable. A sad end to a sad pattern. A few days later, I made pasta again. The same recipe he once compared to Lila's. I lifted the first bite to my lips, bracing instinctively for criticism, then remembered there was no one to deliver it. The pasta tasted better than ever. Not perfect,